Most organizations treat change management as a one-time project thing. What if I tell you that that mindset is exactly why most change management fails? My guest today is Kimberly Shaw. She's the owner of Changify, and she's an expert in change management. And she's going to share with us why change management is emotional, it's personal, and it's ongoing. If you're a leader looking to make sustainable change in your organization, we're going to talk about how you make change with people, not to them. You're going to want to hear what Kimberly has to say.
Right. How do you think it's changed over the years in the way that you kind of deliver change management? I mean, before people would think about a project and they'd think change management around a project. Your philosophy is a little bit different than, hey, this is more than a one-time thing.
Absolutely. And I really like the fact that your last statement really says it all. Change for us is not a single event. And I think that speaks to how it has been treated historically, that it was tied to an initiative that had a beginning, middle, and end. That change really mapped project management, and nothing against project management. They're our best partners that we could possibly have around projectized change. But really, I think the work has been threefold. It's around addressing the change itself, identifying and educating people as to what it is. Secondly, how important it is to an initiative, especially when we look at success end to end. And third, and most recently, really mapping change, like so many of the disciplines that we're all a part of when it comes to services and delivery, how we're responding to the world in general, and specifically around certain factors that influence not just change happening within the organization, but also outside of it as well.
Mm. I mean, change management, that's personal, right? Change is personal. And I would think that when you're thinking about it and supporting organizations, that is another factor that you think a lot about, that everybody's responds to change differently.
Absolutely. And we lead with the fact that, humans, people are at the center of what we do. That's the underlying principle, in the work, which automatically differentiates us, I think, from all of the delivery roles that we would have at the table. So leading from there, we really look at, and I think people also talk about, it being emotional. For us, it's that for sure, but it's also beliefs, mindsets, knowledge, information, how people historically process change, and ideally how we craft it so that they can process it for future state. So it's complex. People are tricky, and we definitely pay attention to managing that.
Well, because in the absence of knowledge, you talked about knowledge. In the absence of knowing something, they will make it up. Like we fill the gap naturally, right? We don't unintentionally do it. It just is a part of who we are. When somebody tells us something, we start to think about, how does that influence me? What does that mean to me? What am I going to do with that? How am I? And so when you're leading change, you kind of have to almost get ahead of that, right?
It is, and that's an interesting way of looking at it, because there are a few layers to it. To your point about what we fill in the spaces with, it is informed also by our experiences, valid or not, perceived, however they are, they become the reality. And that's very individual. What we like to lean in to, given individual responses to change, is also teaming, how teams are crafted and designed and structured, not just around the work, but as, dynamics and networks unto themselves. So we have, the individual levels of change, we have the team levels of change. You and I had spoken previously in other conversations about the importance of the front line, how people are managed and engaging the change, because they ultimately are living it. They are the recipients of the broad strokes and change. And then there's that leadership level as well, right? So individuals, team leadership, but also those individuals that are occupying certain leadership frameworks, work that we have to do to condition those beliefs, if you will, those frameworks, those rewards as well, that inform people's approaches to the change in the work.
Yeah, I think I read it on your website or in a post that you did on LinkedIn. And for those of you who are not connected to Kimberly on LinkedIn, make sure that you connect to Kimberly on LinkedIn or myself. You talk about working with the front line and with people versus change happening to them. Talk a little bit about that.
That's a leading statement. So we take the position of working with them. Change typically that happens to individuals and teams is not always well received or well understood or well managed. So we really look at taking those few steps back and digging into, which everybody I think generally in change knows, the why. Why are we changing?
If you got value out of that conversation with Kimberly, you're going to want to listen to the other conversations that I've had with her. Make sure you check the channel out. Make sure you hit subscribe. Make sure you hit the like button. And please add your comments, because I'm always anxious to hear what you have to say, and I answer every one of them.